Hello, everybody. I thought I would just jump on here real quick and address a comment that I just got in response to the post that I did earlier, talking about wars and rumors of wars from Matthew 24 and how that has got nothing to do with a general concept of strife in the world, whether it's on a national or international, global, whatever. Like it literally has nothing to do with that. Matthew 24 is a 70th week specific chapter. It is the Olivet Discourse that Jesus was answering his disciples, what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? It is from the opening of seal 1 to the glorious appearing. It is literally the entirety of the 70th week and the sequence of events as laid out in the book of Revelation. So it doesn't have anything to do with a general circumstance or anything that we might see in this present dispensation. It is literally from the first thing that happens in the 70th week, which is the opening of seal 1 and the rider on the white horse, the one who comes in the place of Christ, which is the Antichrist. Daniel 9:27. He shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. In the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. Fast forward to Matthew 24:15 through 22, which it addresses that directly. And it says, when ye shall therefore see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place. Daniel mentions it in Daniel 9:27 as occurring in the midst of the week. And then he tells us precisely in Daniel 11:36 what that will look like. The king shall do according to his will. He shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate, which is described in Daniel 7 in the night visions, which is the judgment of the beast. And his body will be given to the burning flame, which is also discussed in Revelation 19's closing verses. So as you can see, it is Revelation 6 through 19 as discussed in the specific and same sequence of events listed in Matthew 24, 4 through 20, whatever, with the glorious appearing. So the comment, there was some agreement, which cool, yay, we're all on the same page. But there was a comment by another person who said, no, Luke, or yes, but Luke is for us. He's talking to us in Luke. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are are known as synoptic gospels. They tell the same things from different perspectives, discussing the same events with a little bit of difference here and there. Like in Matthew, we have the story of Peter lacking faith and trying to walk on water and sinking when he got afraid. That's the only of the gospels that story is discussed in is the book of Matthew. And say the feeding of the 4,000 is in Mark. Only the feeding of the 5,000, which they're two different things, is in Matthew, where the feeding of the 4,000 and the feeding of the 5,000 are both in Mark. And Luke is actually a little bit different. And then it talks about the events of 70 AD in a way that the others do not. And that brings us to what Luke's Olivet Discourse is in Luke 21. This is specific to Daniel 9:26. So we just discussed how Matthew 24 is the sequence of events as given in Daniel 9:27. He shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. That's Revelation 6:1 and 2, the opening of the first seal, rider on the white horse, which Matthew 24 talks about in verses 4 and I believe 5. But let me get there. Jesus answered and said to them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. That is Revelation 6:1 and 2, which is also Daniel 9:27, and he shall confirm the 9:27, he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. Those are all three the same thing. So what's the difference in Luke? Why do people think that Luke, which is a synoptic gospel, talking to the Jews pre-cross, which means in the past dispensation under the old covenant, prophesying about things that are not related to a first coming, so then the default with the Jews would be the second coming. It has nothing to do with the church. It has to do with Daniel 9:26. Well, let's back up a verse. And what does Daniel 9:26 talk about? It says, "And Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end thereof shall be with the flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined." Okay, so the people of the prince that shall come, the Romans, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Now, what does it say before that? Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. Why? Well, you back up another verse and it says, "Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment, Nehemiah 2, unto the Messiah the Prince, Palm Sunday shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built in the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself." Okay, so after 62 weeks, that was the triumphal entry. So let's find the triumphal entry in Luke, and let's look at the sequence of events because it ties into the sequence given in Daniel. So Daniel says the end of the first 69 weeks of years is the presentation of the king. It is also Zechariah 9's prophecy, "Behold, thy king cometh unto thee." Fortunately for us, we have markers in the book of Luke. Luke 19. Luke 19:28. That same story, the triumphal entry, which is the end of the first 69 weeks of years. After which, because the Jews could have accepted the king bringing the kingdom, and they would have gone in, and they didn't. But it's pinpointed, "Unto the Messiah the Prince. When he had thus spoken, he went before ascending up to Jerusalem. It came to pass when he came nigh to Bethpage and Bethany at the mount called the Mount of Olives, he said to his 2 disciples, Go ye into the village over against you, in the which at your entering you shall find a colt tied, whereon yet never man sat. Loose him and bring him hither. If any man ask you why you loose him, ye shall say unto him, Because the Lord hath need of him." So they went and they did that. Verse 35, they brought him to Jesus, and they cast their garments upon the colt, and they set Jesus thereon, and he went, and they spread their clothes in the way. And when he was come nigh, even now at the descent of the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of disciples began to rejoice and praise God with a loud voice for all the mighty works which they had seen, saying, Blessed be the King that cometh in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest. Some of his people knew what was going on, and they were trying to welcome the victorious king bringing the kingdom. But the Old Testament prophecies say, "And all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob." Did all Israel accept him at that time? They did not. Let's read further to find that. Some of the Pharisees from among the multitude said unto the disciples, said unto him, Master, rebuke thy disciples. The Pharisees didn't want anything to do with Jesus. In fact, they had been plotting to put him to death. Continue reading. He answered and said unto thee, I tell you that if these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out. When he was come near, he beheld and wept over it. Beheld the city and wept over it, saying, If thou hadst known, even thou at least in this thy day, the things which belong to the peace, the kingdom. If you would recognize the king coming to bring the kingdom, but you didn't. And what is your recompense for that? Now they are hid from thine eyes. Blindness is cast over Israel because they knew not the time of their visitation. And we learn from Romans that blindness will persist until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Something about a mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceit, that blindness in part has happened to Israel because there's always a remnant according to the election of grace, like the one Paul was a part of. That blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And so all Israel shall be saved. As it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. Blindness was cast at this time and will persist all the way up until the end when it's lifted. Isaiah 28 and 29, Daniel 12, and then Israel will be saved. And Jesus will come back and physically save them. But the recompense for them not understanding the timing of the king bringing the kingdom, their rejection, their non-corporate acceptance of this, resulted in what? The prophecy of Daniel 9:26. Because it says, Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment, Nehemiah 2, unto the Messiah the Prince. Luke 19, Matthew 21, same thing, but we're in Luke here. So Luke 19. Shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street and the wall, Nehemiah, shall be built in troublous times. And after 62 weeks, Luke 19, shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. When was he cut off in Luke? Luke 23. So between Luke 19 and Luke 23, you have those 4 days between the triumphal entry and the crucifixion. So why ever would Jesus in Luke 21 being addressing a body of people who did not yet exist, who were still under the old covenant in the prior dispensation? He is not talking about the church or to the church in the least. He's talking about Daniel's prophecy. So know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem and to the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. Luke 19 is the end of that 69 weeks of years. And then 4 chapters later, Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. And so let's continue in Luke 19 prophesying about what will happen, because that is what Daniel 9:26 says. And the people of the prince that shall come, the Romans, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Luke 19:43, for the days shall come upon thee that thine enemy shall cast a trench about thee and compass thee round and keep thee on every side and shall lay thee even with the ground and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. Take that over to the book of Matthew, and what does Matthew 24 begin with? Before it starts talking about the depiction of Daniel's 70th week, he says the very same thing. Matthew 24:1, Jesus went out and departed from the temple. His disciples came unto him before to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. He prophesied the same thing to the religious leaders in Matthew 23:37, a couple verses before that. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou killest the prophets and stonest them which are sent unto thee. How often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and ye would not. Behold, your house left unto you desolate. Events of 70 AD is what were prophesied in Matthew 23:24. Also in Luke 19, as a specific recompense for not knowing the time of the visitation, for not accepting the king bringing the kingdom at the end of the first 69 weeks of years, as was prophesied in Daniel 9 and in Zechariah 9 as well. So we fast forward to Luke 21, and what does that chapter say? Specifically what he just prophesied about in Luke 19, the events of 70 AD. Luke 21:1. Actually, I will start in Luke 21:7. I'm sure that much of this will sound familiar to you if you're familiar with Matthew 24. Some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts. He said, as for these things which ye behold, the days will come in the which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. We're at Luke 21:6. They asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be, and what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? So it's going to start saying the exact same things that he said in Matthew 24:4-7. Seal, read. He said, take heed that ye be not deceived, for many time draweth near. Go ye not after them. Matthew 24:4. Matthew 24:5-6. When ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Then he said unto them, nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Matthew 24:7. Great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, famines and pestilences, and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. Matthew 24:8 says, all these are the beginning of sorrows, birth pangs, travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. 70th week has begun when the seals are opened. However, this is where Luke 21 diverges from Matthew 24. But before all those things, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up out of the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. It shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. You shall be betrayed by both parents and brethren and kinsfolk and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. You shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. This is before the 70th week that he's telling these things. Why? Because what do they relate to? There shall not an hair of your head perish, and your patience possess ye your souls. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, and know that the desolation thereof is nigh, then let them which are in the Judea flee into the mountains, let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, and all things which are written may be fulfilled. Daniel 9:26. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. That being the first one in 70 AD, the second being in the 70th week, carrying them all the way through to the end, which is the second coming. He says, but woe unto them that are with child, to them that give suck in those days. There shall be great distress in the land and wrath upon this people. They shall fall by the edge of the sword, shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And again, that goes back to Paul's explanation as given in Romans. I show you a mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceit, that blindness in part, Luke 19:42, has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. The fullness of the Gentiles is the Gentile wickedness being filled to overflowing, the grape harvest thrown into the fats. This is Joel 3's multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Beat your plowshares into swords, your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Come get you down. For the fats overflow, the wickedness is great. Joel, where are you? Joel 3. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. This is Revelation 14 and Revelation 19. Jesus reaping the earth, the second half, the period of great tribulation, such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time. Daniel 12 and Matthew 24, Daniel 12, 1 and Matthew 24, 15 through 22, which is the whole reason they flee. But it says, come get you down, for the press is full, the fullness of the Gentiles. Because who's he talking to? Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. The fullness of the Gentiles is the treading of the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God. The fats overflow, for the wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near. In the valley of decision, the sun and the moon shall be darkened, the stars shall withdraw their shining. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion, utter his voice from Jerusalem. The heavens and the earth shall shake, but the Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. This is what it's talking about. They shall fall by the edge of the sword, shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Armageddon and the treading of the winepress. There shall be signs in the sun and the moon and stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Read Isaiah 24. I'll just read it for you. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly, which is why it says, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Isaiah 24, 19. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it. It shall fall and not rise again. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, the kings of the earth upon the earth. They shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in a pit, and shall be shut up in prison, and after many days they shall be visited. Then the moon shall be confounded, the sun shall be ashamed, when the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and before his ancients gloriously. men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming upon the earth, for the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the cloud of with power and great glory. When these things begin to come to pass, 70 AD, all the way up through the 70th week and the glorious appearing of Christ. It is literally Jew specific. 70 AD, 70th week. When these things begin to come to pass, look up and lift up your head, for your redemption draweth nigh. Do we have anything to do with 70 AD or with the 70th week? No. Therefore, Luke 21 has not got anything to do with us. Neither does Matthew 24. If you have questions or comments, let me know. See you guys later.